ever get that feeling like you're being watched? And I don't mean by, like, your neighbor or anything. I'm talking, like, way out there in the cosmos.
I don't know about you, but I'd be lying if I said that thought hasn't crossed my mind once or twice.
Well, get this. According to Ellen White, we might actually have an audience out there in the universe.
Oh, this is going to be good. We're finally getting into Ellen White's cosmic perspective.
We are. Today, we're diving into her perspective on Earth, humanity's fall, and this idea that we're part of some kind of cosmic drama playing out for a universal audience.
Okay, now you've got my full attention. You know I love when things get a little, shall we say, out of this world.
Me too. Okay, so let's talk about this whole watching us thing. Who exactly is this audience, according to Ellen White?
Well, we're mainly talking about beings from what she calls unfallen worlds. Worlds that, unlike Earth, have never experienced sin. They exist in a state of harmony and perfection. And they're super interested in us, especially with this whole, fall of man situation.
Oh, man, so we're like a reality TV show for the cosmos.
Well, I wouldn't say it's quite like any reality TV I've ever seen. It's more like, how do I put it? It's less about the drama and more like they're fascinated by this whole free will experiment.
Free will.
Yeah. White emphasizes that God doesn't force anyone to follow him, right?
Yeah.
Not humans, not angels, no one. He gave us all the freedom to choose, even if it means messing up.
Which brings us to Adam and Eve. Talk about a choice with some serious consequences. Eating from that tree. It wasn't just about them, was it?
No way. That choice had ripple effects. And we're not just talking about here on Earth. Even those unfallen worlds were watching, trying to make sense of it all. Especially with Satan trying to twist the whole thing, making it seem like God set impossible standards, that he was being unfair.
And then God uses this whole situation to show just how loving and merciful he is.
Exactly. He had every right to just wipe the slate clean and start over, but instead...
He came up with this whole elaborate plan for salvation.
Yep. And this is where our cosmic audience really sits up and pays attention. Imagine, these beings had never witnessed anything like it. They'd never experienced the pain, the separation, the brokenness that sin brought into the universe.
So they're seeing a side of God they've never even imagined.
Exactly. Witnessing God's love and forgiveness in action. Talk about a game changer. It was a powerful moment, a moment that revealed just how deep God's love and compassion truly run. And it's not just about seeing God's love, though that's definitely a huge part of it. It's about wrapping their minds around this whole concept of grace.
Oh, man. Grace. Yeah, trying to explain that to someone who's never even experienced sin, that's got to be like, what, trying to describe the color blue to someone who's been blind since birth?
It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And yet here God is, showing them, revealing to them these completely foreign concepts through this incredible plan of salvation. And he's doing it all on this little planet we call home. These unfallen beings, they've seen the destructive power of sin firsthand. They might even be thinking, okay, maybe this whole Earth experiment was a bust.
Yeah, I can see why they might think that. So what happens? Do they just write us off? Turn the channel to something a little less intense?
That's what's so incredible. They don't.
Yeah.
Because God does something completely unexpected. Instead of giving up on us, he sends his own son, Jesus, to Earth.
Wait, hold on. So these unfallen beings who've never even experienced sin, they're about to witness God in the flesh experiencing the ultimate consequence of sin, death.
Exactly. Can you imagine what that must have been like for them to witness that kind of sacrifice?
Mind-blowing doesn't even begin to cover it. This whole plan of salvation, it wasn't just about rescuing humanity. It was about revealing the heart of God to the entire universe.
You got it. It's like this grand cosmic love story. And the best part, by watching this whole thing play out, these unfallen worlds, they're learning how to safeguard their own existence. They're seeing the consequences of sin, but they're also witnessing the power of redemption. Okay, so are you ready to dive into the story of Jesus? But from a totally different perspective.
Oh, I love a good perspective shift. Lay it on me.
Okay, so we're talking about his life, death, and resurrection. But get this. Through the eyes of beings from other worlds. It's like, what if we could eavesdrop on their conversations about Jesus?
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm intrigued. So we're talking like alien encounters here or something.
Sort of. Okay, so Ellen White, she wrote about all these unfallen worlds out there, planets and people who've never known sin. And they were totally tuned in to what was happening here on Earth.
So they had like a front row seat to the whole human drama.
Exactly. It's like their version of cosmic reality TV, right?
Okay, I'm in. So let's start with the birth announcement.
Right. Not just any birth announcement. Imagine Word spreads that the creator himself is entering his own creation as a human. Like, can you imagine the buzz, the gossip, the
Yeah.
speculation across the galaxies? It'd be wild.
Oh, totally. Like the ultimate breaking news story.
Right, but then here on Earth, it's just another day.
Mm.
Kind of strange, right?
Yeah, talk about a cosmic disconnect.
So why all the hype up there and not down here?
Well, we got to remember that sin had kind of thrown the universe off balance. These unfallen worlds, they'd only ever known harmony and perfection. And suddenly, they're face to face with rebellion, with our mess.
So they're probably thinking, what were those humans thinking?
Yeah. And they're wrestling with this question, can humanity, with all its flaws, really be redeemed? Are we even worth saving?
It's like everyone's holding their breath, wondering if this whole human experiment is going to work out.
Exactly. And that's where Christ's life takes on a whole new meaning. See, it wasn't just about him living a perfect life. It was about proving to everyone that perfection was possible for humanity.
It's like he's setting the record straight, showing the universe that we're not a total lost cause.
Right. And it was a big deal for those watching, wondering if we could actually reflect God's image again.
Like a cosmic do-over.
Yeah, kind of. It was a demonstration, a rebuttal to all the doubts that had crept in.
And then there's that moment, the temptation in the wilderness.
Oh man, talk about pressure.
It's like the entire universe is holding its breath while this one man decides the fate of humanity.
Seriously, it was the ultimate test, not just for Jesus, but for all of us. You see, some of these unfallen beings, they had their doubts. Could humans really resist temptation? I mean, look at their track record.
So when Christ stands firm, it's a huge relief for everyone watching.
Absolutely. A sigh of relief that echoed through the cosmos, like, see, humanity isn't a lost cause after all.
They can actually choose good over evil when they've got God's power backing them up.
Exactly. It was a message of hope to every corner of the universe. And that brings us to the crux of it all. The crucifixion. I mean, talk about a turning point in history, and not just human history.
It's heavy stuff, for sure. Even knowing the ending, it's hard to grasp what Christ went through.
And this is where our human minds just can't fully grasp it, because those unfallen worlds, they'd never experienced death, suffering, nothing like that.
It'd be like trying to explain colors to someone born blind.
Exactly. So they're watching this go down, and it must have been completely beyond their understanding.
But it was also the ultimate reveal of who God is.
Right. It's like, sure, they knew about evil in theory, but they had never seen it in action.
Like reading about a hurricane versus actually living through one.
Exactly. So when Christ, God's own son, goes through that kind of agony and death, it's like the universe gets a crash course in just how destructive sin really is.
And how far God will go to redeem his creation.
Yes. It's like Christ's death became this cosmic guarantee. It showed the entire universe that God's love isn't some flimsy, conditional thing.
It's not like, oh, you messed up, too bad.
Right. It's this unshakable, I'm with you no matter what kind of love.
So how did those unfallen worlds process that? I mean, were they freaking out?
Well, think about it. Before the crucifixion, there were probably whispers, doubts creeping in.
Like, did God make a mistake with these humans?
Yeah. Like, is this whole redemption plan going to work? But then Christ, he just lays it all on the line. He's like, this is how much I believe in them. This is how much I love them.
That's intense.
Right. And it shut down all those doubts. Because in that moment on the cross, when Christ cries out, it is finished, it's not just about his pain ending.
It's victory.
Yes, total victory over sin and death. And that echo, that went out through the entire universe. No more whispers, no more doubts. Just this incredible wave of relief and hope.
Okay, but we can't forget what happens next. The resurrection. Talk about an epic comeback story.
Right. The ultimate mic drop. He wasn't just returning to heaven. It was like this victory parade.
Proof that death couldn't hold him.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about him, right? The ripple effects of that, huge for everyone.
It's like he's showing us the way, saying, this is what's possible. This could be you too.
Yeah, like, don't be afraid of death anymore. I conquered it. And it wasn't some vague promise for the future either. The resurrection. That's proof that it's already been defeated.
That a new kind of life is possible. One we can't even imagine.
Exactly. It completely changes the game.
Like Humanity 2.0 is now available for download. But what about those unfallen worlds? They haven't been through the ringer like us. So what does the resurrection mean for them?
That's such a good point. It all goes back to that idea of everything being connected. Even if they haven't experienced brokenness like we have, they're still invested in our story. Remember, when humanity fell into sin, it wasn't just our problem.
Right, like that cosmic virus we were talking about.
Yeah. It messed with the whole universal harmony. Sin threatened everything God had created. But here's the thing about the resurrection. It wasn't just about fixing humanity. It was bigger than that. It was about hitting reset on the whole system, reinforcing God's original plan for everything.
So it's less about hitting undo and more like upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. Love is stronger than death, hope beats despair, and God's in control. That's the message for everyone.
Okay, so how do these unfallen beings react to all of this? Are they throwing parties?
Put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
Imagine seeing power and love on a scale you never thought possible. They're witnessing the impossible become reality. I think their response is even bigger than ours. Pure awe and wonder.
And relief, knowing that everything's going to be okay.
Totally. The resurrection is good news for everyone, everywhere. Sin and death don't get the last word. God's dream for a perfect creation. It's still on.
It's like this huge cosmic exhale.
Yeah.
Everyone can finally relax.
Exactly. And that's what I love about this perspective, you know? It reminds us that we're not just watching some show. We're in it. Our choices matter. The way we live our lives, it has an impact on a scale we can't even imagine.
It's both humbling and mind-blowing,
Yep.
right? Like, wow, I'm part of something so much bigger than myself.
Right. And it challenges us, you know, to really live up to the sacrifice that was made, to reflect that love and grace in our own life.
So here we are, wrapping up this deep dive, and wow, what a journey it's been. We've gotten this glimpse into a reality most people don't even realize exists, one where heaven and earth are totally intertwined, and Christ's victory echoes through everything. And you got to wonder if those unfallen beings, with all their wisdom and perfection, if they're still amazed by Jesus, how much more should we be? We're the ones he did it all for. It makes you think, doesn't it? What else can we discover if we really grasp just how big, how cosmic the story of Christ really is? Something to think about.
Ever get the feeling like we're part of something way bigger than ourselves? Like, what if our lives here are being watched by, I don't know, beings from other worlds?
Okay, I have to admit that's a pretty wild thought.
Well, get this. Beings from other worlds, worlds untouched by sin, are totally invested in the choices we make right here on Earth.
Right, right. It's like those unfallen worlds are keeping up with all the drama going on down here, like a cosmic reality show or something.
Exactly, except the stakes are way higher than anything you'd see on TV. We're talking good versus evil, right and wrong, and apparently these beings who've never even tasted sin are glued to their seats watching how it all unfolds.
And you know it's really fascinating. Ellen White doesn't just mention these beings in passing. She actually describes seeing them in visions.
Oh, wow. She actually saw them. What were they like?
Well, in one vision, she's taken to this unfallen world, a place filled with so much joy and beauty. It's like everyone there perfectly reflects Jesus. And there's this interesting detail. She sees two trees, kind of like in the Garden of Eden.
2 trees. So even in a paradise like that, they still had a choice to make.
That's what's so mind-blowing, free will, even in a perfect world.
Wow. What made those unfallen beings so different from us? Why was choosing obedience so clear for them when it's such a struggle for us down here?
That's where those two trees come in. Just like in the Garden of Eden, those trees represent a choice. Choosing to trust, to love, to obey, that's what sets them apart.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? It really highlights how important our own choices are, even if we don't always see the bigger picture.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, what must they think as they watch us navigate this world?
Right. I mean, they've never experienced the pull of temptation, the desire to disobey. What's it like for them to see us struggle? Do they get disappointed when we mess up?
It's really about understanding what Ellen White calls the great controversy. It's this cosmic battle between good and evil, and it's playing out on a much larger stage than just Earth.
Our choices here have ripple effects throughout the universe.
So it's not just about us then. It's bigger than that.
Exactly. These unfallen beings, they're not just passive viewers. They're emotionally invested. They feel joy when we choose good. And yeah, I imagine they feel a sense of sorrow when we choose wrong.
So our world is like this little stage where this huge cosmic drama is playing out.
Yeah,
Everyone's watching.
that's the idea. Our choices here matter, not just for us, but for all those who are watching, rooting for us to choose good.
Okay, so we've got these unfallen beings watching us, cheering us on. But here's where it gets even wilder. Ellen White suggests that angels and demons, they're not just observing us from afar, they're actually down here, working among us, often disguised as humans.
It's like something out of a movie, right? You
Yeah.
never know who you might be standing next to.
Hmm.
Right. She shares these incredible stories, like angels appearing as travelers needing shelter or offering help to those in need. It's like those stories that remind you to be kind to strangers because you never know.
Exactly. And there are even wilder accounts, like an angel speaking up in a crowded assembly, revealing truths that no human could have known. Or angels leading armies into battle, changing the course of history.
Seriously, it's like they're fighting this cosmic battle right alongside us in ways we can't even imagine.
It's a powerful thought, isn't it? To think that we're not alone in this struggle.
Yeah.
That even when we feel lost or afraid, there are these unseen forces fighting for good, fighting for us.
I know, right? Makes you wonder, what if that person you helped the other day, the one who seemed down on their luck, what if that was actually an angel in disguise?
Or the opposite. What if that person who rubbed you the wrong way, what if there was something else going on there, something darker? It makes you think twice about those encounters, doesn't it?
Okay, now that's a little creepy, I have to admit. But you're right, and knowing this, shouldn't it change how we act, how we treat others, even how we think?
It's about recognizing the weight of our actions,
Right.
right? If we truly believe this was happening all around us, wouldn't we strive to be a little kinder, a little more compassionate? It raises the stakes, that's for sure.
Okay, so we've explored these amazing unfallen worlds, and we've talked about angels and demons walking among us. But buckle up, because Ellen White takes this whole cosmic drama even further when she talks about the end times.
It's like the stakes get even higher, right? And the plot thickens.
Totally. She talks about this time of intense deception, especially through something she calls spiritualism.
Yeah, spiritualism. It was a huge movement back then, and it's still around today in different forms. And, at its core is this belief that the soul lives on after death, which honestly can be a comforting thought for a lot of people.
Totally. So what's the problem? What's so dangerous about believing in the immortality of the soul?
Well, Ellen White was really concerned that this belief, it kind of opens a door, it makes people vulnerable to communicating with what they think are spirits of the dead. But here's the thing. She's saying these aren't who they claim to be.
Oh, no. So you're telling me it's not really grandma sending me messages from the other side?
That's exactly what she's saying. Ellen White believed that these so-called spirits are actually demons in disguise, mimicking our loved ones, famous figures from history even. Well, this is where it gets really wild.
Okay, now you have to tell me, who else could they possibly be impersonating?
Get this, she says they can even impersonate beings from other worlds or even heathen deities. Can you imagine? You think you're connecting with some advanced being from another galaxy, and it's really, well, something else entirely.
Wow, that's a lot to process. It's not just about talking to dead relatives. It's about being misled by, like, anything you can imagine.
Exactly. And this is why she was so adamant about testing everything against Scripture. Just because something sounds spiritual or convincing, or even if it performs signs and wonders, it doesn't necessarily mean it lines up with what God says.
Right, right. It's like that old saying, the devil can quote scripture for his purpose.
Exactly. He's tricky like that. So we can't just passively accept everything we hear. We have to be discerning. We have to really know what God's word says so we can tell truth from falsehood.
Which is probably more important now than ever, right? With so much information coming at us from all sides.
Absolutely.